Look at that. Aw, family photo.
Please stand by.
Well, hello there. No, wait, you know what? For this, I get to sit. Hello, I'm Amy, and I'm pretty sure that you've heard of Among Us. If you haven't heard of Among Us, it is the most popular game on the internet right now, where you play as either a crewmate or an imposter, and you run around spaceships and try not to die while you fix your computer. Among Us is a phenomenon right now, and because of that, and because it's Halloween, my brain thought, why don't we make an Among Us costume? I wish I gave myself more than like 4 days to make this. It can be made in 4 days, as this will show you, but I wish I gave myself more than 4 days to make this. But I didn't, so here we are, and this is the story of how I, Amy, became a life-size crewmate and imposter. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I have a habit of seeing something and thinking, yeah, I can make that. Well, that happened again. So I looked at the little crewmates and I looked at it and I was like, yeah, that's gonna be totally easy to make a costume that's simple and probably have a lot of stuff I can use. It's not a hard project. That is what I will say. It's not a hard project, but it was a project that I decided to do that was not suited to my needs. So here, for all of you who also can't sew, here is a no-sew Among Us imposter costume. Now, I know not everyone wants to be an imposter, so we will start with the basic crewmate and go into our... I asked on Instagram what color you like to play when you play Among Us, and by a small margin, we got purple. Now, it's almost like you know what my aesthetic is, because I love purple, and I was completely happy to make an entire purple costume. So let's dive right into what it takes to make this Among Us costume. This is a journey that I'm glad that you are joining me on. Now, I rely really heavily on liquid stitch and hot glue. So throughout this entire thing, pretty much anything you see me put together was put together with either liquid stitch or hot glue. I can tell you and have proof by the burns and blisters I have on my fingers now. So we're brainstorming here. I want it to be simple to make, everyday things that you can find, and I want it to still look pretty good. So I researched, and what I found is that for the look that we are going for, we're gonna be a bean bag. That's right. The whole basis of our costume is going to be the outside of a beanbag chair. Stay with me on this. I promise it makes sense in the brain area. So I need to find a purple beanbag chair, and I need to find bottoms. So these dudes don't have arms, so I don't need to worry about covering my arms a certain color, but I need the legs to match as best as possible. I am not a seamstress or any sort of sewing person whatsoever, so I don't want to have to make legs. I don't want to have to make the legs out of like a separate beanbag chair, because that's going to be beyond the scope of my abilities. My thought is, they sell those Zentai suits or like those full body color suits. So my thought is I could find one of those potentially and use it as the color for the legs. Or I could see about some leggings. My worry with leggings is mostly that I will have to then figure out the feet. So if I can find leggings that match, then my thought is to buy 2 pairs and make the feet and the backpack out of the second pair of leggings so I can use the first pair. The other thing that is the biggest thing about the Among Us people is their visor. It's very specific looking. And in my research, I have found out about these things that people wear on their motorcycle helmets called bubble visors. Now, they're not cheap, but they are such a perfect shape that I feel like I have to go with the bubble visor. I wasn't sure what color bubble visor to do. They had like dark gray, light gray, blue, but I didn't want to see my face through it as much as possible. So I went with a slightly darker than I probably would have before, because it's hard to tell on those illustrations of the Among Us guys what the color of the visor is versus like what the shine on the visor is. You know what I'm saying? So I'm hoping that this order will have everything I need, and I won't have to have a panic at the last second because nothing's working. Everything is on order, so right now we both know the same amount about how this is going to turn out. I also ordered some fabric boning on the chance that it might be able to help me hold the shape so it doesn't just hang. And if it doesn't, we might have to make a run to Michael's and get some foam to kind of stuff the rest of it. So I will see you back here once my entire order arrives, and we will see if this is going to be a thing that works. Hello, welcome back. Was that fast? I don't know. The stuff has arrived. We have a beanbag chair. So I did end up getting 2 of these because the description on the item made it seem like one would be too small to cover me, but this seemed like the perfect color and it seemed like the better material, so I wanted to use this one anyway. This is a kid's beanbag chair. It's a lot bigger than I expected. It is definitely big enough that one of them will cover me. Here's the top. So it's hard to show you on here. It's a big thing. This is gonna be hopefully so easy and not need much of any alteration whatsoever. Fingers crossed. The length of the video will tell you whether or not that is true. It does have a little hole that seems just big enough for me to fit through so that I can just, well, why don't we try? I can just about find my way through. Do I look like an Among Us guy yet? Do I look like a ball of Play-Doh? What's happening? I don't know. I am pretty optimistic about how this part is gonna go, and we have the boning. We have purple leggings, but the piece de resistance, pardon all the cracks. We have our bubble visor. And again, this turned out to be a little bit darker than I was anticipating, but I think it will work regardless. This is gonna look pretty perfect, and it's gonna do what I want, which is not fully show my face behind it. That's pretty much like everything for a basic Among Us Crewmate, so I'm really hoping that this turns out well. We shall see. The first thing to start with is the body. Now the body was our beanbag chair, and so for the most part it was the shape that we needed. It was a little too big on the bottom and a little less bean shaped, so I did decide to cut it apart. If you're good at sewing or you know better how to tailor things, you might be able to tailor it without fully dismantling it. But for me, my thought was, let me take this whole thing apart, mark off where I need things to be, what sizes, the sides, the front, the back, and really get a hang of how this fits together. Now my crafting style is less follow a pattern, know the intricate details of how to put something together, and more like, let me do this puzzle with a blindfold. It does seem to make things more difficult, but it works out pretty well generally. And for this, it was, my brain had a lot of time, and I'll put together the clips from me trying to make this body, but it took my brain a long time to fully understand how I needed to go about it. I think I went through like 3 or 4 different ideas of what the process was going to be to get from point A beanbag to point B Among Us man. So with that, I thought, first, let me try to see how I can do it when it's a beanbag. Then let me see how I could do it if I take it apart. Anything I can make seem like not a sewing project will work better than if I think about it like a sewing project. Okay, so I have everything pinned, and I'm trying to figure out what I think the best options are. My thought is I'm going to flip this inside out. This little ghost is gonna become Grimace once again, and I think if I like the look of it, I'm just gonna go for it and cut it. And then I have some of my favorite stuff in the world, because like I've said many a time so far in this, I'm not a sewer. What I do like is liquid stitch. So if it doesn't end up working with sewing, I think I will end up liquid stitching the edges of these, and then we will probably have to hot glue the boning into it. This can be a thing of glue, and if I like how it turns out, luckily enough I have an extra in case I don't like how it turns out. I think then we will cut the hole for where the face is supposed to be and go from there. I didn't give myself enough time for this. I will check back with you once I know what our actual next step is gonna be. Now the body is what took me the longest, and it was really difficult. Like, it was really difficult. And I think a lot of it was just my brain trying to figure out how to fit the pieces together and what order to do it in. I do think that if you're sewing it, you might have a little bit more options, but because I was gluing it, I needed to make sure that I could glue all the seams the way I needed to. Hi. So, I think we're gonna make this a little bit more complicated than I was hoping, but I think it will yield us a better product. So, it currently looks like this, where I pinned it and all that, but we have too much of a point at the top. Like, it ends up being too pointy for these really flat-headed little dudes. So my thought is we're gonna cut this all apart, because for the most part, the shapes are what we need. And then we're going to line up each panel. We will have a front panel, a side panel, a side panel, a back panel, and a bottom. We will end up with those pattern pieces, and I can adjust it as I see fit. And then I'm just gonna go run to the craft store, get a crap ton of liquid stitch, and we'll just glue it together and hope for the best. See you after it's all cut. Woo! Hello and welcome to one emotional breakdown, one trip to Michael's, and quite a few hours later. I have cut out pretty much all the pieces. It's still currently attached to the bottom, though I think I'm gonna cut that off too. Here is the current plan. I've gone through some thoughts, I've done a lot. I bought 2 more things of liquid stitch and decided that tonight I cut and paste. The idea is to cut out the shapes that I need from this. They're pretty much in the same shape. I'm just going to trim some of the edges, and then I'm going to glue it all together and hope that it looks like a crewmate, so that tomorrow we can add in the foam and the faceplate and make some feet for our leggings, and hopefully it all comes together. Okay, I'll see you after. Enough. Montage. So once I got the body together, and into the pretty much shape I wanted, I knew I needed to support the head. So I did make a hat. Now the hat is just scraps from everything. It's a hat I've had since last Halloween, maybe the Halloween before. If you see at the 99-cent store, the really cheap like felt hats, guess what? They're really great whenever you make a costume and you need something to rest on your head. So I took it and pretty much made the worst rags to riches toad hat that you could ever lay your eyes on. But once we put some Velcro on top of it, in the end, it will help balance and keep our head looking flat, and to not give that the dome, the cone head of a human head inside a larger flat surface. We want to not look like there's a person in there if we can help it. We reinforced it with cardboard, covered it with some felt to try to give it a more uniform-ish shape. This will be the, ignoring all of the hot glue falling from it. I'm a professional. I'm not. This will be the base of our head so that we can be the right shape. Hopefully this will allow us to have that dome top and not have it fall every which way. Excuse the weird wonky Dutch tilt here. I glued all of it together. I feel like through most of this, I'm just that gif of the lady with the math running around her head because I'm trying to make it really work for me. I think the only way for me to do that was to glue it all together to see what the actual sizes of the pieces are. From there, we'll turn it inside out, see how it looks, and then if I like how it looks, I think we add a little bit of boning with some hot glue, and then we are going to add the padding. Well, it seems like a shape, so it doesn't have as much poofiness at the edges. So hopefully, and it does have like a flatter top, if you can kind of see. And no, I haven't attached the bottom yet, but it will come soon. So, I know it doesn't look like much right now. This is much more the shape of an Among Us guy. I actually think the little hat works really well. The top's a little bit messy, but hopefully you won't see that much of that. So I do think we're still going to lay in the boning, put in the foam padding, see if we still need the hat. If we do need the hat, put the hat in, and then figure out the face. It took a lot of hot glue. A lot. I bought these Mondo packs of Gorilla Glue hot glue stick refills, and I used up an entire one for this project. An entire one of those and an entire tube of liquid stitch. So either you need that to make this, or you need to know how to sew, or I just use a lot of excess. Who's to say? Why do I sound like Holly trying to talk to Mr. J? I don't know. I've been watching too much Harley animated series, you know? Harley and Poison Ivy for life. Mwah. Hello, pardon the air conditioner, which is making a really horrible sound. But look! It has a skeleton! And so I've gone through and made pretty much the outline of this person. It can stand up, kind of. Hopefully can basically hold its shape. The next step would be turning it inside out, cutting out the faceplate part, and then putting all of the foam into here and seeing where we end up. Once I got that laid out, I wanted to make sure I could get our helmet face fully in, see how it looked, and make sure that it fit. Now, I don't think I did this the best possible way, but it did work. I basically cut out a hole approximating about how big I needed it to be for this bubble shield mask to bubble. And from there, I just pushed it through, hot glued it, and just hoped for the best to make all the edges clean. But we'll get back to that bubble face. Hello, yes, and welcome back to, I still have my air conditioning running, but we have a face. It's a little small and a little big on the sides, but I think it will work for what we're going for, And I think this is where I stop for tonight. Tomorrow I will come and do the foam. Once I had the bubble mask and the boning laid down, it was time to add the foam. And at this point I hadn't put the bottom back on, so I was able to turn it inside out from the bigger hole on the bottom and able to crawl in and out as I needed to. Oh, hi there. Are you inside of our little suit? Good for you. I think that is cool that you can actually fit inside now. We've done all the boning, and next is to add the foam and then attach the bottom. And after that, I think it'll be ready to try on. And attach the backpack. Attach the backpack, the bottom, the foam, and then we have our little crewmate. I will see you once that part is done. Bye. But the foam. Now, I did not record myself putting this foam. This is pure cushion seat foam. Pure cushion. It's cushion foam. The stuff that you put in like chairs or sofas or whatever. And I pretty much bought out what they had at my craft store. And we bought all of the cushion foam that they had. This guy that we're making is gonna hold its shape. It's gonna hold its shape. I probably could have gone about putting it in there a better way, but for a first try of doing something to this magnitude, I think it turned out pretty well. I pretty much hot glued the foam into there on each panel, so I do end up with a little bit of like weird wonkiness around the sections rather than a full round look. Overall, I think it went okay. And it does hold its shape really well. I can climb in and out of it. It's not gonna collapse on me. It pretty much did what I wanted it to do. So we're gonna say that it went well. That is to say that I think our final method was the most effective, which, if this was a little too confusing, is dismantle the beanbag, mark up on your fabric exactly what you want it to look like, cut, glue it all together, all of our edges and our seams, but not the bottom. Turn it inside out, lay down all of your boning, put your mask in, lay down all of your foam, and then try the epic struggle of turning it inside out again once you have added foam. No, I'm not gonna let you see how horrendously anxious I was when I tried to do that. I thought it was gonna go so poorly. It was a struggle to turn it inside out again, and I thought I was gonna break every single thing, but it worked. And now that we had dealt with the body, we just need to make all of the accoutrements, accessories, the extra bits and bobs to make it actually look like an Among Us person and not just a bean with a pimple. So I bought 2 pairs of purple leggings. Now, one pair we're gonna keep fully as leggings. The other one we're gonna cut up and utilize. We're going to make some feet to put onto our leggings. I'm not saying I made the best socks, but I'm saying they did the job. And that's really all we're going for here. And for the backpack, I used the rest of the fabric I had left from those leggings and covered a delivery box that I already had that was about the right size, and just, you know, slap that baby on the body yaddy yaddy. That was dumb. At that point, I had been working for a really long time and just need to go to bed. But I kept thinking that something was bothering me, and overnight it just came to me. The face was all wrong. I really wanted this bubble face mask to work. And overall, I think it actually did. But it wasn't quite the right size for the size that this Among Us character ended up being. So I thought that the best thing I could do was to extend the visor with a little creativity. I had a bit of an epiphany last night where what was bothering me about this guy is the face. The little visor, while giving me what I wanted, was too small. It ended up looking like this little pimple on his face. So I took some of my scrap fabric, some scrap black fabric, some pieces of felt, and decided that what I needed to do was make the face bigger. Like that. You get what I mean. So let me introduce you to my bulbous boy's new face. I feel like this better emphasizes the look that we're going for. I didn't record doing that because I really was just overcome with an idea, but it worked. You have some black fabric, some felt to make the shine that we see on their visors all the time. And then in the middle, we have our actual little visor that we can see through while we are inside the guy. I felt like that bit of color, that bit of brightness on the front really, really brought everything together. Like, I felt so relieved seeing how that face turned out once I extended and magnified our face mask area. It felt a lot more balanced. I think it just made it look that much more like an Among Us character. And now we get to the fun part. Why is this fun? To destroy something I've just made with the chance that it will not turn out well at all? I don't know. I'm pretty sure I could see a psychiatrist and they would tell me something that went wrong in my childhood or something is why I want to destroy the things that I'm proud of to potentially make them even better and be even more proud. We're not gonna get into that today. I wanted to make an imposter. I started this whole thing knowing I was going to make the alien face guy. Yes, they can do all those other animations or whatever, but alien face guy is like signature, it's fun, and it feels Halloween-y and exciting. I wanted to be that. That meant cutting into the thing I already made and making a hole for the mouth. This was terrifying. Everything could go wrong. Everything could go wrong. You can already see the fact that I lined up some of the boning in the right space to put a mouth right here. So what we're gonna do is cross our fingers that by chopping into his face, I don't ruin this whole thing. And we are going to give him a mouth, a tongue, and some sharp little teeth. Wish me luck. I knew before I started this that I was going to be using excess cardboard from delivery boxes that I had on hand, my moving boxes, to reinforce the mouth. I knew it was going to end up looking a bit like a toilet seat cover. That's what it looks like to me, because I wanted a hole in the center so I could stick my arm through and help the tongue just waggle around. I knew it had to feel reinforced, otherwise the tongue would kind of like fall back into the mouth. So I knew it needed to have the cardboard to fully secure everything. And since we have the foam in there, that's another layer for the cardboard to sit on inside to fully secure it, I guess. It's hard to see from the outside in the footage, but what's basically happening is I covered our makeshift inner mouth part with excess pink fabric that I had from a previous costume that I'd made, which is actually in my closet over there. Maybe one day I will show you the pink pants I made. If you know Janelle Monáe, you know what kind of pink pants I made, but I'm not gonna say that here. I knew that was how I was going to make the inside of the mouth. And from there, I knew I needed to make a long tube, and I didn't want it to be even. I wanted it to feel really weird and like gross. So I purposely cut the fabric with a little bit of a wave and a wonkiness to it. And I knew I had some like pillow stuffing I could stuff down it enough to fill out most of it, and then would just stick my arm through and waggle it around, but it had to stay. So I just kind of finagled my way into having the mouth cover pretty much all of the inside. I had a lot of excess cheek that I pretty much just folded into each other until it didn't look like there was a crap ton of fabric stuffed into the cheeks. And then it was time to make a bunch of teeth. Teeth is fun. It's just cutting zigzags out of felt and doing it half a dozen times. Show me your teeth. Show me your teeth. Wah. And once I started adding the teeth, the face just like came to life, and I love it. I love how the mouth and the face turned out. I think it's really fun, and when it's just sitting on the dress form, it just looks like a beholder. It looks like it's floating and it's adorable, and I love it. But I want you to love it, so here is the final reveal of this video, our imposter. Well, that was a journey, wasn't it? I think if I learned anything from this is that I just kind of need to follow my instincts when it comes to this kind of stuff. And maybe I need to start investing myself into learning how to sew a little bit so that dry times and blisters from hot glue aren't so prevalent whenever I do projects like this. But I think overall I'm happy. I think there probably was a better way to lay out the foam and the boning that wouldn't give me all of the weird little lumps that I ended up with. And I do think that some of him is a little bit more plentiful than other places. And so the full shape is a little more square than I wanted. But overall, I think I am very happy with how it turned out. I think if you want to try this, there is plenty of time, or just enough time before Halloween to try to become an Among Us character. And really, I just wanted to do it because I was a fan of the character design. I'm sure at some point Among Us and the people behind it are going to come out with some official costume, and it's going to be like super cool, and people are going to be like, look, Amy, you can just spend 40 bucks on this costume instead of whatever you spent to make this one. But this one felt like I earned it. You know, this was one of the largest projects I put forth. Minecraft was big, but it was mostly just cardboard, and it wasn't as labor intensive as this one was. This one really tested my brain, my creative thinking, my ability to problem solve when presented with lots of problems, and still end up with something that I like. So I do feel really proud of how this turned out, and I hope that you guys enjoyed seeing how to make it, or seeing how I made it anyway. I don't expect anyone to try to make this, but if you do, I would really love to see it, and you can tag me on Instagram or Twitter if you make it. I am Amariebythesea everywhere, including here. And honestly, if you know someone who likes Among Us, I would love it if you would show them this video and be like, oh my god, you can be Among Us for Halloween, even if we're just staying inside. If you think I should try playing Among Us more, because honestly, I'm super bad at it. Like, I can't lie with crap even when you can't see my face and can't hear my voice. I don't know what it is. People just always suspect me, and I am never the imposter. I am never anything, and yet everyone always thinks I am, and I just get shunted, ejected, yeeted out into space. But that is my Among Us 905,000 million IQ costume. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for sticking around until now. And if you liked what you saw here, I'm gonna try to do some more bigger costumes, because honestly, I have a lot of pride in being able to try to figure my way out in here, and my skills will only get better the more that I do it. So if you like it, I would love if you would stick around, join this little magical family that we're setting up here, and subscribe down below. And so, as always, I have been Amy, you have been wonderful, and I will see you in my next video. Stay magic. Bye.
Ever wonder what it was like to see through the eyes of an imposter? Hey. Bah, bah. There's a cat.